Opinionated, outspoken, informative. The Jaguar Journal. Your source for the latest information on Southern University sports and SWAC athletics. A Baton Rouge sports talk tradition. Now, here's your host, Reggie Flood.
Woo! Saturday morning. It's rough trying to get it going at 7 o'clock. But guess what? You know what time it is. It's the Jaguar Journal. I'm Perry White. And we're going to rock and roll in this morning for the first hour. Got a special guest who's going to join me, my man, Scotty Too Hotty, my man, Aubryon Scott, a.k.a. OFFSCRIPT. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, this is way too early for me, bro.
Man,
I don't do morning shows.
wake up, man. Wake up.
Know how y'all do this.
Did you, when you were younger, did people call you Scotty Too Hotty?
No, okay, so man, long story. Short story. Actually, in high school, people used to call me Diddy. Yeah, it just, I don't know, it kind of stuck, man. Just people call me Diddy, and it stuck.
Mike, what you laughing about? What are you laughing about? Like Diddy.
So it was they used to call me A Diddy, right? So that was in high school for my football, and then when I got to the military, you know, you go by your last name, so it goes my last name is Scott. So all my friends would be like, Scotty, run the play. You know, they used to do all that Phil Jackson type stuff, so it kind of stuck. And I just been going by Scotty every time.
You know, because of the wrestling days, Scotty Too Hotty, that's just in my head when I think about it, man. What's going on with you?
Man, nothing, man. I appreciate, as always, the invite on the Jaguar Journal. Because, man, I don't know if people know, like, this is where I got my first, this is my first radio interview when I first started OFFSCRIPT. Uncle Flood reached out to me and was like, hey, man, I'd love for you to come on. And, yeah, he let me come on Jaguar Journal.
Yeah, Uncle Flood then kind of left me the house, I guess. I got the keys. I can party. I can do whatever I want, it seems like. As a left me the car and all. I mean, he just was like, you got the car, you got the house. You know,
don't crash it.
Refrigerator, man, do your thing. Got the car on the couch. Think you want. I appreciate that. You know,
Yeah.
and so, but yeah, man, it's always a pleasure to have you on, man. You know, you and I go back and forth on your show. And if you have not watched it, it's OFFSCRIPT on YouTube. Really good show. He goes and, man, when I say he goes wherever, you don't know what the show may be. You know, he goes wherever. It's no box to put him in. And when you're trying to see what direction the show going to be. So you just got to get your popcorn and typically sit down and be ready. And, man, you know, now we got you on this morning. I know it is early. Saturday mornings, man. My Friday nights, when I think about what I'm going to do Friday nights, is always with the consequence of how is this going to affect you the next day.
Yeah.
Typically, I don't make too good of decisions on Friday nights, and that's not saying anything bad. It's just when I look around, I start to see that clock get a little later and a little later. You know, sometimes you could be somewhere and be like, you know what, I'm gonna be out of here by 9. 9 turns to, well, about 15 more minutes. And I still called. And listen, when I called him, I said, man, you up? He's like, man, I'm just chilling. I said, that sound like what a man would say when he in the bed, half sleep. So, you know, I know it's tough. And a lot of times, man, it's tough for our listeners. That's why I'm glad my man Mike and I, man, we got the YouTube channel popping. So, you know, if anybody's out there listening, you don't want to listen to the radio, man, you can check us out on YouTube. Go to YouTube, type in the Jaguar Journal. As my man OFFSCRIPT say, get those likes up.
Get the lights up, you know what I'm saying? I'm actually watching us on the Jaguar Journal as we speak. Appreciate Mike with the image. It's pretty fire. I appreciate that, Mike.
No doubt. Well, you know, in radio land is a little bit different than on YouTube. We got to take a commercial break. So let's get ready to do that. And when we come back, we're going to jump into some conversation. This was the intro. Now let's get into the body. All right. Stay tuned. It's the Jaguar Journal. $7:18 a.m. That one right there. You turn that up and cut that bass up. Hey, I turn that corner, Scotty, real slow.
Hey,
Yeah.
Zoom on that. Oh, yeah, that just used to go back and say, what you doing? Getting money. What you doing? Getting money. I wish I could play music on my channel.
Hey, that's what you call that trunk slapper right there.
Yeah, right. You know what I was thinking about on commercial break one?
What's that?
How early does Mike have to be there if the show starts? Holy, Mike gotta be there.
Come on, Mike. Tell him. Mike, here you go. Come on, Mike.
Well, I have to be here at 6:30, but I don't clock until like 6:50.
But it ain't enough money in the world.
Exactly.
Mike, you know what? He loves us here at the Jaguar Journal, and we love Mike. Mike, there have been a ton of producers that have come and gone on this show over the years that I've done it, man. And guess what? I'm just going to say, if you know what? Keep it real. Mike's my favorite one. All right? I don't give a care who listening out there that used to be a former producer of this show. They all did good work. But Mike, he goes above and beyond, man. He's younger. He gets me, man. He gets me. Oh, for real though, shout out to Mike, man. He gets it going every weekend for us, man. He always say, man, you in studio, what we doing? Because Saturday mornings are so rough. And I'm always going to say it was a train on the track every time I'm on the way to the studio. I run into that same train each and every Saturday that slows me down on the way to the studio, man.
If you don't want, Jaguars all in your business, all in the video, come to Off Script.
See, cut him right there. We're in this.
I mean, if it's after Saturday, hey, money, you know?
You know what I'm saying? Cut Off Script.
Yeah, there we go, man. Let's go. Thank you all, Script, for coming on. That's our guest for today, everybody. It was my man Scotty coming on. You can't be coming on here taking Mike. My God. Mike gets up early for us, man. Scotty, what's going on in your world, man? Pop it off, man. It's a Saturday. It ain't much going on. Spring games are going on around the conference. If you want, we can jump into football because I know that's what you love the most. Some black college HBCU football. Southern had their spring game last week. I believe Alcorn had their spring game last week. Alabama A&M have theirs today. I haven't really been hearing a lot of chatter of anybody in their spring games out there. What about you?
No. Southern spring game, Alcorn spring game. I talked to my boy Blue. He went to that one. A little bit about that. Yeah, A&M's is today. It'll be on YouTube. So if anybody want to watch that, kind of scope the competition. And then the big boys do it on April 15th. FAMU, I think Alabama State. Everybody's coming up. So man, yeah, it's spring season, man. See what everybody has. See what these quarterbacks are looking like because that's what's going to come down to the quarterback play this year.
You look around the conference, you talk about quarterback play. Jeremy Musa, who's at Florida A&M, seems to be, for me, when you talk about passing quarterback, seems to probably be the best returning quarterback. Right there close behind him, I think athletic quarterback, you got to go with Andrew Body at Texas Southern. But everybody's going to kind of be figuring it out from the quarterback position, it seems, this year.
Yeah, I think, I think Musa has the most experience coming back other than Andrew. But for me, I think what a lot of people, I like Miles Crawley from Alabama State. He went to Grambling. I think he is a hidden gem. I think if you can get that thing rolling like you needed to with a quarterback, I think they can be super, super special. I was a fan of Miles Crawley when he was at Alabama State going against Jackson and doing things that he was doing there. So I'm very excited to see what he looks like. As well as Tyler Macon, 4-star guy from Mizzou, transferred to Alcorn. Blue said he looked really good in the spring game, but everybody looks good in the spring. But, this is very athletic guy and can definitely run that RPO system that Alcorn likes to run.
What about Grambling? What do you think about Grambling from the quarterback position? Because you and I talked about it last year after the Bayou Classic, and they struggled all year from the quarterback position. They seemed to be running the ball, but they got away from it a lot of times throughout the year. But the quarterback position for you at Grambling?
It's still a question mark. Even though I love Miles Crawley, I think it's still a question mark. I talked to John Simon at the Legacy Bowl, and I asked him, I said, why didn't you guys go with the running game? Like, why didn't you guys just force feed it? He said, real talk, Scott, he said, it's hard to recruit quarterbacks when you don't have film of you throwing the ball. I said, that's fair. He said, no matter how much, Hugh Jackson is this, or he said, people want to see you throw the ball. And he said, we had to throw the ball just because I couldn't recruit a high-level quarterback after I done ran the ball 30 times a game. So he said, we had to do it just to, kind of recruit. So I said, that makes sense. So going into this season, I think it's a clear, if it's my opinion, I think it's a clear winner. It's Miles. I think second is Baby Carrot. And then
Baby who?
And then Baby Carrots. The guy who was at the Bayou Classic, the one that couldn't hold the ball, Baby Carrot.
Oh, I didn't know. So you got what the hell?
My bad. That's that off-script lingo. My fault. I call him Baby Carrot. Because when you try to hold the ball and you fumble throwing the ball, yeah, they call you Baby Carrot.
Okay. Baby Carrot.
That's for fingers. Baby Carrot for fingers.
But
yeah, he got a little hand.
Okay.
If you fumbling the ball when you throwing it, I'm sorry. Can I say the H word?
I think you can. You can get away with it.
That's in the Bible. It's Easter special, right?
Happy Easter weekend, everybody, too, as well. Good Friday was yesterday.
Yeah.
Easter tomorrow. Go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? So you got Baby Carrots and stuff. So it's still undefined, but I still think that Miles Crawley is a gem that Hugh Jackson is glad to have. And as long as he stays healthy, I think they should definitely be in the running.
Now, for you, I know, are you back on the Jackson State bandwagon, or are you farther away from it than ever before?
Listen, further away as ever before. I hope them Bamas don't win a game just so I can just. Man, there's nothing better than a sad Jackson State fan. There's nothing better. They done pissed me off. So I am. They couldn't pay me to be on that bandwagon.
Really? When you look at Jackson State, man, they have a lot to do at the quarterback position when you talking about replacing Shedeur Sanders, arguably the best quarterback in the conference the past 2 years. From the quarterback position, although I don't think they've done a spring game, it won't be on ESPN this time. A little shade right there. But for you, what do you see from them at that quarterback position?
Listen, Jason Brown is a journeyman. He's been to St. Fu's at the FCS level, went to FBS level, back to the FCS level. So very high productive guy at the FCS level. So he should be able to do damage. But the key is you couldn't recruit an offensive line when Deion was there. So now you're supposed to recruit an offensive line that you don't have Deion. So that's always been their issue. So we'll see what that quarterback position looks like. But I think the biggest loss was actually losing P.J. Hatter to Texas State. That kid was different. He was good coming out as a freshman, but he went with GJ Kenny, to Texas State. So you have him, Phillip Short. He's an athlete playing quarterback. He's not a real quarterback, in my opinion. But I think it's going to live and die with Jason Brown and what they decide to do. But from some things that I've heard, they might be a more heavily run team this year than they were in the past. We'll see how that looks.
Well, listen to you sounding like a journalist. We'll see how things look more. I like that. 4 teams I'm finna put on you: Bethune-Cookman, Pine Bluff, Mississippi Valley, Prairie View. When you look at those, Bethune-Cookman, Valley, and Pine Bluff, of course, going in new directions this year with new head coaches. Prairie View is returning with Bubba McDowell, but they're a question mark. Last year, I didn't know what to expect once Eric Dooley left, but they seem to be a power run team. Didn't ask for too much for Conley, their quarterback, who is not that good of a passer, but he can do some things with his legs. But of those 4 teams that's all looking to find quarterbacks, who you think will have the most success?
Take PV out of it. I think they have a style and a system of which they run, and they don't really need much from the quarterback. So, and plus you just added Caleb Johnson from Valley, so you're definitely about to run the ball. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You don't take a guy who averaged like 20 carries per game, 1,000-yard runner back-to-back seasons, and you throw the ball. So let's just take PV out of it. But I think out of all 3, I like what Valley has done. I like what they've brought in. They have a couple guys from Dallas that they brought in. in their spring class. Their signing class is really low key. Is nice. If you haven't really looked at the film of the players that they brought in, they have some guys that you're just like, oh man, I think they can do some work. So I'm gonna go with Valley 1, PB2, Bethune-Cookman at the bottom of the barrel. I don't think they have. I listen. I love the guys they have, but I don't trust it. I don't trust Little Bill to run this team. That's
you and the nickname.
I'm so sorry. Little Bill is the head coach for Bethune-Cookman. If anybody, my bad. I'm out here using off-script lingo.
Yeah.
So, So I don't even know his real name. That's what I'm saying, Little Bill. That's what I'm calling Little Bill. But yeah, I don't have anything to say about Bethune because I don't really see much from them happening. Yeah. So I'm just curious to see what Valley and Pine Bluff look like, and I know you are a Pine Bluff. What do they say, like a sneaky supporter?
I'm a native.
You know
Just say that. No shame in my game about where I'm from. I'm not a sneaky supporter. I'm from there. My mom went there. Family went there. So, when they do good, the city does good. And so far, that city hadn't been doing too good over the years, which is one of the reasons why I left. But I like to always, when I look back at my hometown, to make sure that they're in the best position for the next generation. And so, not don't do the sneaky supporter, right? I'll show up, but when I show up, I'm still Jaguar down. I'm willing to throw hands over this blue and gold that I got on. Yeah.
Oh, you the city and you really to throw hands against somebody from the city.
They say, man, you a traitor. I said, man, education. I'm not just down here fanning. I went to school. And so they get it twisted sometimes thinking I'm just down here as a fan. I think there's a difference. See, I'm a Pine Bluff High zebra, okay? So let me break this down because obviously you don't understand this. I didn't go to UAPB in kindergarten through 12th grade. I went to UAPB for 2 years. That's it. 2 years.
Because you went to for 2 years, correct?
I went to Southern for a few years. Went to Southern for a few years. I got love for them. That's the beauty of HBCUs. I can say I've been around. It for me, a lot of people, you go to a HBCU and a lot of people set up camp at one HBCU, but I'm a supporter of all HBCUs, but I have my favorite. Southern's my favorite, but at the end of the day, I support them all. I'll put it that way. And Pine Bluff, particularly UAPB, my mom went there, got family members got there. Some of my best friends are graduates of UAPB. So it still remains true. I'm probably the only person in Baton Rouge when it comes to seeing UAPB on the schedule that actually like, okay, Southern UAPB, and everybody else like, you know what? I'll go to a bar mitzvah this weekend. I think it's a baby shower going on. I'll just sit this one out. I'm the only one that continues to try to hype that game up. It used to have some hype back in the day, but, when the years that have gone on with Pine Bluff kind of having those ups and downs and struggles, that's what's kind of made it up and down. So that's what I'm telling you. It ain't like I went to UAPB K through 12th grade. So it's not, I don't have that much UAPB in me, but UAPB did expose me to the SWAC. And I will say that I can remember going to all of those SWAC games. That was the beauty of it back then, especially.
What SWAC games? The UAPB SWAC games?
Yeah, UAPB, of course.
Okay.
During the SWAC in the 90s, my mom, I'm the little kid that showed up in the little windbreaker, hat to the side, got the pom-pom dragging on the ground. That was me.
Yeah. So you have been for going to UAPB for a long time. You've been rapping for a long time.
What you'll learn about me is anybody that knows me I've liked Southern since 99. That's all I talked about. I went to my first Bayou Classic in 1999 and fell in love with Southern. Never forget it. Southern won the game. It was a hell of a crowd. I think Mystical came out and performed with the band. Back then, I had the little Kodak, with the film in it, you had to roll it and wait till you hear the little, then the light pop on. Then, yeah. I came back. I did a whole bunch of pictures, took them to Walmart, waited 1 hour to get them developed, came back, and I had nothing but pictures of the entire weekend. And when I came back, I talked about Southern from then all the way and still to this day. So everybody already knew where Perry, who he liked, where he wanted to go. UAPB was there because when you a kid, what choice do I have? I have to go to the game. My mom's saying I'm going to the game. I'm going to the game. Plus, I will say this. Anybody that's been to Pine Bluff, if you haven't had a turkey leg, get you a turkey leg. Scotty, you need to go to Pine Bluff and get you a turkey leg. Check that off one of your SWAC schools that you haven't been to.
Yeah, I need to go to UAPB.
And I'll go. You let me know. 7 in Bluff this year. Make the trip. I'll meet you there. How about that?
I listen, man. I'm a dad full time now. I got all my kids. 3 of them.
Now it's a store.
Listen, have you going from Atlanta to UAPB? That is like an 8-hour, 9-hour trip.
We call it family vacation. It's family vacation. Let's do this. We got to take a break. We the Blue Past. Hey, Scotty, we're going to keep the conversation going. Hey, everybody out there, stay tuned. We'll be right back. More of the Jaguar Journal.
Care South is now providing COVID-19 drive-through community testing at their Baton Rouge clinic. Testing is available for anyone with or without symptoms and no doctor's order required. No insurance? Care South will cover the cost. Care South is a federally qualified health center providing comprehensive medical, dental, and behavioral health services, offering telehealth services and an in-house pharmacy. Satellite clinics in Donaldsonville, Plaquemine, and Zachary. At Care South, we're here for you. Care South. Family serving families.
Bright and early on the Saturday, it's the Jaguar Journal. I'm Perry White. Shout out to my man Off Script joining me this morning.
What's goody?
Hold on, cut that back up, Mike.
Yeah, I know that just be rolling.
Yeah. That's that trunk slapper. All right, Mike. All right. I just got to wake the people up out there.
Wow, that's a bop. That's a whole bop right there.
That's a Diddy bop.
Hey.
You hear me, Diddy? Hey,
take that.
We on the phone with A Diddy this morning. What's up, man? Now they want me to do a recap of Southern Spring game. I can do that. You know why I can do that? I was there. I could do that. I was in attendance. I could talk to him, man. I let him know Southern University had their spring game last week. The Gold and Blue game is what it was dubbed. We had Eric Dooley on the show talking to us about some guys last week in order to look at some names of some new members of the Jaguar football team that we may not have known about last year. And we know one of the biggest circles that we have to put one around spot is the quarterback position for Southern. You have a quarterback competition. Overall, I think when you look at this program, Southern has a lot to build off of from last year, especially rebuilding a defense who I thought was one of the better defense in the conference. Right behind Jackson State, I believe you had to put Southern's defense right there. The defense never was the issue. For me, the defense is what got Southern to the SWAC championship. The defense is what kept Southern alive last year. Hold on, man. I'm doing my recap. But it was the offense that, for me, was the issue. What's the end for? Hold on. What's the end?
I mean, you all know you guys backdoor into the championship. There ain't no defense and all that. You guys backdoor. You backdoor your way to a championship game, and you would have got blown off the hinges if Dooley didn't finally put Bubba McDaniels in. But, continue your recap.
Because I don't understand why is all that even relevant, what we're talking about. That's last year when you talking about backdooring. I'm just talking about the facts of what we got to replace. You talking about backdooring and
our defense held it, our defense a lot. No.
You love
Bama dropped the ball.
Let's do this then. You was at the Bayou Classic. You won that game for Southern.
Grambling not running the ball.
Said what won that game for Southern? Grambling didn't do the ball. I guess you don't understand the question. I didn't say what Grambling did to lose the game. I said what Southern did.
Okay, what did Southern do?
You don't listen.
Southern stopped Grambling for running the ball. How about that? They didn't attempt to run, but they tried. But no, your defense called turnovers. They didn't care it.
And so it was the defense. It wasn't the offense.
It was baby carrots. Go ahead.
Baby carrots, I thank you. Remember after the Bayou Class, he's an honorary Jaguar. I appreciate him for everything that he did for Southern last year. That helped us out tremendously. And I don't believe in backdoors. I believe if you did what you had to do and it works in your favor, that is what it is. Two teams were ahead of Southern. All they had to do was win the game. One game against two opponents that they were favorites against, and guess what they did? They laid gooses. They lost. Prairie View goes on the road and loses at Itabena to Mississippi Valley. And don't just lose, you get blew out. Then Texas Southern goes with a lead with about 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter against Alabama A&M, and you blow it? To me,
and their starting quarterback goes down?
It's a whole team left, bruh. Once again, if they had a defense like Southern, they would have won the game. So as I go back to the spring game, Southern, I believe having to build off of that defense. Build off that defense. But the quarterback position, when you look at Noah Bolden and Harold Blood, I think right now when you look at the quarterback position, those are the two guys that it comes down to. If I had to pick today, the better of those two, I would go with Harold Blood right now. Harold Blood seems to be, and of course so. He's been in the program long enough. To me, Noah Bolden seems like he still needs to work on some mechanics. He has all the attributes to look to be that type of quarterback. When you see him, it's like that guy looks like a quarterback. But it still seems to be some judgment calls with him in the back in the pocket where he just does not, you can see he does not look comfortable in terms of what's going on out there. And so I think you'll see some development. Southern hiring Willie Titan, who, of course, has been working with the quarterbacks all year. We'll see what the development looks like with that. But when I look at this, and I'll give you my grade, and I'll give you my honest grade of this, and some people may like it, some may like it. I don't care. It's Perry's opinion. And if you got an opinion, call into the show, 225-499-1073. Because clearly Scotty got one this morning. Y'all hear him getting on me. But let's go.
I mean, listen, I get paid to have an opinion now. Like Uncle Red, I get paid. I've been doing this 23. I get paid to have an opinion.
Let's go to the spring game. Offense overall for me, for Perry. And when I tell you this, let me give you my grading scale, because I think a lot of times I don't know what people grade teams off of when they're looking at them, what you consider. I don't grade off SWAC, all right? To me, I don't grade off of Southern compared to other SWAC teams. I always judge my base off of being a top 25 FCS team. We don't have to participate in the playoffs. Of course, we don't. We play in the Celebration Bowl. But for me, I still want to be a top 25 program. Last year.
When you have a weak schedule.
Last year. See, it's irrelevant. Last year, Jackson State was the only top 25 SWAC team. FAMU was out knocking at that door. But this is what
NCCU was.
Who was that?
NCCU, North Carolina Central.
I said SWAC. See, you don't listen.
Oh, my bad. That's on me.
I take it. He jumped down my throat, radio land. Y'all hear him, huh? He just want to make sure. North Carolina Central was a really good ball club, and they showed that's why they won the Celebration Bowl. And it was their non-conference victories early on in the season that began to turn my head to let me know that team may be for real. But when you look at the SWAC, and I grade off of FCS top 25. So for me, if this team was to go against the FCS top 25 program right now, this will be my grading scale for Southern. Offense, overall, I would give a D+. And I would say because
you said a D+?
Yeah, like D is in Daniel. Now this just Perry. Now you know you ain't got to take what I say serious, but this is my observation. So I will give the offense a D+, and I'll go with this. The quarterbacks were inconsistent and inaccurate for me. I saw a lot of overthrown balls. I saw some plays that were made. Towards the end, they went through the 2-minute drill, and I was looking at the 2-minute drill like, yeah, I hope we ain't in that position. All right? Wide receivers. If it wasn't the quarterbacks not getting the ball to them, but when the quarterbacks did get the ball to them, drop passes. I saw a for sure touchdown in the end zone, a drop pass. I saw some conversions on third down that could have been easily made drop passes. I'm not a fan of receivers dropping passes when it's in your hand. I understand having to stretch out and reach out for one, but when it's in what they call the bread basket, you got to go home, bring it home, and bake it, all right? I didn't see enough of that. I saw a lot of dropping that. I did like the running backs, and to me right now, I will say Southern has to have the best running back room in the conference. When you look at Kendrick Grimes, Carl Ligon, Gerard Sims, now you bring back a guy like Kobe Dillon, who I thought looked good as well. That is your bread and butter this year, running the ball. And for me, if I was Southern, I would not put too much on my quarterbacks. I will allow my quarterbacks to be game managers this year. I don't need you to be the playmaker. I don't need you to have to go out there and feel like you have to win it. Use your strengths, and that's finding ways to get that ball in terms of your running backs being able to break it. Kendrick Grimes broke a big one. I think out of all of the running backs that I saw, when you look at him, he's a big boy. And when you look at the rest of those guys, I think Southern, with the stable of running backs that they have, that's their bread and butter. That was the bright spot that I enjoy watching. Of course, I like teams that can run the ball as well. And I think the O-line is still a little shaky. I think when you talk about the O-line, we're going to have to look at the depth of the O-line overall, because you're going to need that as the season goes on. That's being able to make your quarterback feel protected in the pocket to where he doesn't look one read and take off. And I think with your inexperienced quarterbacks getting experience this year, you're going to have some nervousness and some happy feet back there in the pocket. So that's a D+ on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, I give Southern a C+. What's that? Yeah. I like a C+. I think they apply pressure to the QBs. Quarterbacks seem to be unsettled in the pocket. They apply pressure. I like Southern's DBs. And I don't know if that was to the account of the quarterback play. Were you talking about interceptions, 1 for a pick 6, deflecting passes? The secondary for me was doing it. And then overall, I think what made me nervous was giving up those big plays to the run game. Southern's offense, in terms of the run game, was able to get some big plays, able to push the ball. I don't know if that's a sign of Southern's run game being that good or Southern's defense in terms of the run game just not being there right now. And you're replacing some pieces on that D-line, and I think that question is for Southern on the trenches, the O-line and the D-line. And those are the two areas where the game is won. It's the trenches. So I think that's where they need to beef it up. Special teams, I give a D. Too many missed field goals. I mean, I'm just being honest. That's all I could do. Too many missed field goals. Overall team grade, I will give a D plus C minus. This team has work to do. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm a Southern fan through and through. Defender of the blue and gold is who I am. Guess what? I got to keep it real. This team, when you look at top 25, does not look like a FCS top 25 team right now. They look like a team that has talent that I believe will be able to finesse the SWAC. It's going to come down to the same way last year. We was able to finesse the SWAC even with the quarterback play that we had, but it was when you played the teams like the FAMU, the Jackson State, when you don't bring your A game against a team offensively like you did Texas Southern, you allow just a quarterback who's a little bit more athletic to be able to have some bigger plays to put his team out front. And the same way with Grambling. Grambling's defense last year was pretty sturdy to me. So when you look at Texas Southern, FAMU, Jackson State, and Grambling, those are four teams that kind of stifle Southern on the offensive side of the ball. When you look at this year, Southern is going to have to elevate if they want to be able to be a SWAC champion as well as a Celebration Bowl champion. Because for me, I think now the door opens for FAMU now that Jackson State and Coach Prime, I would say Coach Prime out the way. Jackson State is still there. But I think with Coach Prime out the way, this opens the door for FAMU this year. FAMU has to be the team that everybody circles because Willie Simmons has literally been one game away the past 2 years from a SWAC championship. After that loss to Jackson State, his teams have not lost that game in October and November, aside from 2 years ago when they lost in the FCS playoffs to Southeastern. But when you talk about regular season games, they have not lost a regular season game in the months of October and November over the past 2 years. To me, that is the team that you have to go after. And the good thing about it, they come to Baton Rouge this year. So you have home field advantage if you Southern. But I think if there's a top 25 contender in this conference, I would have to circle FAMU, and then everybody else will be playing up to try to get to that measure. Well, we got by. I said a C minus. I give you D plus, but because you're a Jaguar, because I know your mama and your daddy, I give you a C minus.
You give a D for the.
I gave a D plus for offense. A C plus for defense.
66, 67. Okay, so then you give another D for special teams. That seems like a failed grade to me.
Because I like Southern, I rounded up to that next highest grade.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'll give you a C minus. Yeah. Yeah. You never had that? You never been a beneficiary? You never benefited from a curved grade?
So pretty much a what, 72, 70, 73?
I mean, we had a 70, like 70.1, like you knocking, like. Yeah.
So I talked to somebody from the Southern group, and I just like calling it the Southern group, and they said Harold Blood is the starter until fall ball.
I mean, anybody that was there, you saw it. You saw that it was Harold Blood, and it was everybody else trying to figure it out. There's a lot of work in that quarterback room, but when you look around the conference, you need a quarterback to win a championship in this conference. You look back at the teams that have won the previous championships. Guess what they've had? They've had quarterbacks. That's what made Alcorn successful for so long. That's what you see in terms of the success with FAMU, and you saw that with the success of Jackson State. When Grambling was on their run, guess what they had? They had a team, but they had a quarterback in Devontae Kincaid. That's what kept Alcorn in the conversation for years. The fact that they were able to continue to develop quarterbacks and roll with their quarterbacks. For Southern, that's going to be the position. No doubt about it, we have the talent to finesse this conference. Because if I'm giving Southern a C minus, guess what? Bethune-Cookman, Mississippi Valley, Pine Bluff, and the rest of them will get from me. Because they, for sure, are nowhere near top 25 FCS teams. So,
At the end of the day, you got to catch you on a bad day one time. TV, Valley, let's not act like, you know what I'm saying, it doesn't happen. I can catch you on a bad day at the right time, and you lose a game. So, and we've come to see in the SWAC, it only takes one game to kind of put you in a position to where you're not, going for a championship, or you lose the wrong game or the wrong conference game and things like that. So, I'll say that. I'll say the parity in the SWAC is at the highest it's been in the past 2 years. Kind of feels like when the Golden State Warriors come down off their little run. But my thing is this: how much did you put that on Dooley? Because at the end of the day, if you're an offensive guy, right? And people say this on my channel all the time. They'll say, Scotty, he doesn't develop quarterbacks. But I say based off what I saw last year, he can't evaluate the position either.
And I think that's what have fans still shaking. We got a caller here, one of my guys, Chris, who he's still demanding an apology from Coach Eric Dooley after last year of what they did with Bashawn McCray and not giving Bubba McDaniel that opportunity. And so I think as an offensive guy, being an offensive coordinator, that is his responsibility. That does lie and fall on him. And I think that's the biggest judgment that Jaguar fans and supporters are going to be shaky with when it looks at the offense. They call it stubbornness. Will he be able to get out of his way, or will he remain stubborn to go for what he wants and what he knows?
Jaguar Nation, I'll be asking for one. It's because you put yourself in a hole to ride with a guy who kept showing you that he couldn't get the job done. I just don't understand it. I mean, how many games did you have to see to say, listen, this kid is not the guy? Was it the Valley game? Was it the Jackson State game in the rain? Okay, you give him a pass there. For the last 4 games closing out the season, he didn't throw for over 100 yards. What are we talking about? He had more interceptions than he had touchdowns.
It's a new day.
So I'm just confused about the evaluation of talent, because if you are the head coach and if you are the offensive play call, it's different if you're just the head coach and you're not the OC. The OC, and you kind of be like, hey, what you guys see, who you guys want to run with, cool. But when you put the tag on yourself as the offensive coordinator as well, and you can't even evaluate the quarterback position to be like, hey, I think we need to go somewhere different. Come on, man. And if I'm being honest, you really wanted to go with Bashawn in the Jackson game. He fumbles in the beginning. It goes down to the 1. You put Blood in. I think something bad happens with Blood. You put Bashawn back in the game. He does something. He throws a pick, and then you put Bubba McDaniels in. So you put Bubba in a whole 20-something points before he even gets in the game. And if you do it after the first Bashawn McCray turnover, that's a different game.
Definitely a different game. And I think at this point, what you're saying is pretty much how the majority, I would say, are sitting back waiting to see how this thing is going to ultimately fare out. So we're at the top of the hour. I got to get ready to pay some bills, Scotty, man. I thank you for coming on with me this morning. I done woke you up. Now you woke. You ain't going back to bed now.
Nah, I'm up, man. I'm about to go be a dad, bro. I'm about to go start dad.
Well, I appreciate you for joining me this morning, man, and we'll definitely catch up a little bit later.
All right, peace. Appreciate you, bro.
All right, man.
You, Mike.
All right,
man. Peace.
That was my man off script. Hey, we're going to take a break. When we come back, try to get my man Mark Gray on, talk about some other things going on, some basketball, some baseball, and so much more. All right, so y'all stay tuned. More to Jaguar Journal. It's the Jaguar Journal, bright and early on a Saturday. It's the Roots, one of my favorite groups. I want to thank my man Off Script for coming on and joining us. Aubryon Scott, thank you, man, for coming on and talking a little sports, some football. Now we're going to switch things up, and I want to welcome him to the Jaguar Journal because it's not his first time. But guess what? I love this guy and the conversations that we have. Welcome to the Jaguar Journal this morning, my man Mark Gray. Good morning, Mark.
What's the deal, Pig? How you doing?
I'm good, man. You up? You had your coffee? You ready to rock and roll with me?
I'm up.
People don't realize, man, it's rough with that 7, 8, and then you out on the East Coast. So right now it's 9 a.m. and it's still rough.
Yeah, and it was a long day at the ballpark, too, yesterday. But, if you're going to get paid to watch baseball on opening day from Baseball Heaven, and you get to watch Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, Cedric Mullins, you know what I'm saying? It's not a bad life.
No, it's not at all. They call it, it's what you love to do, so it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
All right.
That's it.
I like that. And as you're talking about baseball, let's jump into baseball right now. Give a recap for Southern University. Southern last week took on Alcorn State in a 3-game series here in Baton Rouge, getting the first game 14-4. The second game, Southern fell short to Alcorn State 12-15. And in that third and final game, Southern was able to win the series 6-1. Midweek game went over to Mobile, Alabama to take on the University of South Alabama, one of the only few other teams in college Division I that are the Jaguars. So the Jaguars versus the Jaguars Southern, losing 13-0 in that one. This weekend having a series against Prairie View. I think yesterday's game, due to inclement weather, was pushed over. So they'll play game 1 today, and they'll play a 2-game series, 2 games in the 3-game series on Sunday. So today's game is scheduled for 3 o'clock. First pitch tomorrow, Sunday, April 9th. First pitch is scheduled for 12 noon, and game 3 is scheduled for 3:30 p.m. That is Southern versus Prairie View. Southern still remain winless out of conference this year. And, I continue to harp about that here on this show because you got to get those midweek games. Southern has not won a midweek game since way back when they got one against UTSA, University of Texas San Antonio, last year when they won 1 game of that 3-game series. So still remain winless in those midweek games, out of conference games. Overall, let's look at the SWAC East. The SWAC East starts out Alabama State at the top, 9-2 in conference play. 21-11 overall. They're a 6-game win streak currently. Bethune-Cookman 8-2 in conference play, 17-13 overall. Florida A&M right there behind Bethune-Cookman. Those Florida schools are playing some good baseball. 9-3, 15-7 overall. All of those teams right now carrying win streaks. Right below them, Jackson State at 4-8. Jackson State just fell short last night, 9-3 to Florida A&M. They are 4-8, 17-12 overall. Alabama A&M 2-8, 10-16, and right behind them, Mississippi Valley State 2-9, 10-21 overall. When we jump over to the SWAC West, there's Grambling State leading the way, 8-1 in conference play, 12-16 overall. Behind them, Prairie View 6-2 in conference play, 10-19 overall. Texas Southern 5-4, along with Southern at 5-4. Texas Southern 19-11 overall. Southern 9-18 overall with a 5-4 conference record. And to round it out, Alcorn State 3-8, 5-21, and Pine Bluff at the bottom, the lonely bottom at 1-10, 8-21 overall. That is SWAC baseball. That is Southern and the SWAC standings. Mark, you been able to check out some SWAC baseball and keep up with it?
I have not, only because it's the start of the season, and MLB Bro has a lot of stuff to do with the partnership. I can now, on the record, confirm that we have. So I have been following more as a fan as opposed to an expert, and it just seems like I got questions about the pitching staff and the depth. That's number one. You got to have pitching if you're going to win. I think the defense has been kind of shaky, And I don't know, man. Is that a symptomatic? And I'm not close enough, so this is just, dime store analysis here. Grandma's home remedy. But it just seems to me like the conversion at the top of the program is sort of trickling it down. And with this being the signature program in spring sports, it just kind of puts a bigger light on it right now. I'm not quite sure the team is focused. I think that distractions in baseball are a lot more subdued because you got so many players. But you do see them in critical situations, like when you're trying to make routine plays. When a consistent reliever comes out and can't throw balls or strikes over the plate. And I'm getting a sense just by reading parenthetical analysis, this team don't have the swag that they normally bring in to a season. There's some confusion about the pitching staff, and the defense ain't as good as it used to be. So you put that into the mix, you see why they're struggling during the regular season. But I don't know, maybe I'm too far. Maybe I'm looking through the wrong color glasses. I still don't want to see that team in the tournament. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens when the money is on the line. Because one thing about the Jaguars, when they get in tournament time, they always got a punch of stand. And if you want to high end like a Bama State, a FAMU, or a Bethune, you got to watch for the left hook to knock you out.
That's it. Same thing we saw in basketball with Texas Southern, knocking out Alcorn and Grambling and finding a way to get in, caught them lacking. When you look at, and you and I have talked about this on other shows, the partnership between, what I won't even call it the partnership, the fact that MLB, Major League Baseball, doing All-Star Weekend in Seattle this year, will host a All-Star HBCU All-Star baseball game, getting some of the best talent from HBCUs, particularly the SWAC and the MEAC, and being able to host a game in which they showcase this talent doing MLB All-Star Weekend. We saw this with basketball during the Final Four just last week. We've seen this with the NBA All-Star Game weekend when they did Grambling versus Southern this past year. But now incorporating HBCUs along with this, as I go through and talk about these teams, do you think the talent level is there to turn some heads, being able to have this all-star game with the platform that it will have?
Absolutely. I think that they're diamonds in the rough. And when you got like 80 rounds of the draft, there's always that one or two players that's down on the bottom and that you might get in a steal. And the league has been doing a great job of stealing players from Latin American countries, putting them in their baseball camps and turning them into superstars. So I think that now it's good to see Major League Baseball take some of those assets and turn them to the place where Black American players historically came from. I mean, let's be real for a second. Long before Vanderbilt became the conduit for Black American baseball players to get into baseball these days, it was places like Southern. It was places like Graham. It was places like FAMU. And that got forgotten about. And sorry, ladies, my name is spelled Mark with a K, Gray with an A. I'm at Sports Groove on social media. Title IX has killed Black college baseball. It has manifested itself with the proliferation of softball in the gender equity workspace. The trickle down, in my opinion, has been the absence of Black American baseball players, such as the Andre Dawson, the Vince Coleman, the Marquise Grissom, the Marvin Freeman. Black American baseball players' platforms in college to display their wares were at HBCUs. 50 years ago, when you had baseball players at their brightest in major leagues, many of them started as HBCU players. I mean, people talk about the 69 New York Mets and how great Tom Seaver, John Matlack, and Jerry Koosman were, but who was the MVP of that series? First baseman Don Clendenin of Morehouse College. Nobody talks about that. So when you start losing a platform that grooms players and there's no other vision, you're going to have something like this. I'm anxious to see, if anybody comes out of that game, but most important, where they're drafted and where they place. Do they start rookie ball? Do they start single, double, or triple A? To get their shots. Is there another rookie weeks on the horizon? This thing is still evolving. I'm glad to see him doing it. But the 800-pound gorilla in the room, I'm sorry. I think that the boom that we've enjoyed in women's basketball from Title IX and in softball has adversely affected Black American baseball players who was getting this big platform at HBCUs.
I want to talk to you about women's basketball after the break as well, because I listened to you early this week and what you had to say, and I was curious to have that conversation with you so we can have some dialogue. So let's take a break real quick. When we come back, my man Mark Gray will continue the conversation with us. So y'all stay tuned. Hey, and if you go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, keep up with the conversation on there as well. All right, so we'll be right back. More of the Jaguar Journal.
Care South is now providing COVID-19 drive-through community testing at their Baton Rouge clinic. Testing is available for anyone with or without symptoms and no doctor's order required. No insurance? Care South will cover the cost. Care South is a federally qualified health center providing comprehensive medical, dental, and behavioral health services, offering telehealth services and an in-house pharmacy. Satellite clinics in Donaldsonville, Plaquemine, and Zachary. At Care South, we're here for you. Care South. Family serving families.
Bright and early this Saturday morning, the Jaguar Journal. I'm Perry White, my man Mark Gray. Good morning, Mark.
Thought you had lost me. I thought some people had took umbrage to my take.
On YouTube channel, we had a question that someone asked. They said, "How does he see that negatively impacting Black Americans playing baseball?"
Title IX,
Mm-hmm.
you kill off Black baseball programs so that schools can fund women's softball programs, and there are no more chances. I mean, let's be real for a second. How many places have you seen around the country, and I'll have a number of those, who no longer play baseball but have flourishing softball programs? I mean, it's, do the parenthetical research, and I'll do it, but I know from the eye test, you see a growth, particularly at HBCU programs, and I consult with several coaches about that because I'm trying to get them to embrace more of the stuff that the ladies do inside the dugout for rallies. In lieu of the rally monkey, they do their chants and stuff. It's an entertainment product. I'm not saying pulling the plug, but I'm saying if you get to matters of dollars and cents and you got a fund, which is what Title IX does, scholarship for your athletic program, and you have to keep a swing sport. Baseball has been clipped, softball has been kept. And you look around the country, and I would put my credibility in my 30 years in the business up against any emotional argument, and let's get to the heart of the matter.
Hey, I'm going to let you roll with that one. That was the question that someone asked. If you got questions and you want to call in, 225-499-1073 is the number. 225-499-1073 is the number. Or you can continue in the chat on YouTube or at the Jaguar Journal. If you don't want to call in, you want to converse on the Jaguar Journal YouTube, you can do that. Mark, as we get ready to move into this next point, as we're continues talking women's sports, women's basketball. LSU wins the NCAA women's basketball championship. Southern wins the SWAC championship. There was a lot of conversation via social media that people wanted Baton Rouge to do a joint parade because Southern women won the SWAC championship and LSU women's winning the national championship. And for me, I told a lot, I didn't publicly speak it, but, amongst people that I knew, do what you gonna do when it's your time, and don't worry about doing something when somebody else has they shine to try to combine the two. What you think about that?
There are layers to that, and I get where you. But as a municipality, when you start looking at the amount of money that you got to spend and public service resources and stuff like that, police protection, all that organizing of, civic protections, if you will, there's a financial cost to it. So I think the consolidation and the celebration is something that, as far as a community in Baton Rouge, I would have no problem getting it behind. It's not necessarily piggybacking off of anybody's sign. I'm talking about just embracing the celebration and being a championship in a spot that knows how to celebrate. So I don't know if there was anything about, tethering the enthusiasm, but I will say this, it would be a boon because the thing I love about what LSU has done is they brought a swagger to the bayou to say, we here, we understand in South Carolina and Iowa and UConn are the blue bloods. We're going to be there in 5 years. And I think that when you put a shine like that in the town, the trickle down will help the Southern women get back to where we know they rightfully deserve to be. But make no question about it, the personalities of LSU are going to change the landscape and the direction of the way that the women's game is marketed. And I know the area that Angel Reese comes from. Angel Reese went to school across the street from the jail. Okay, let's be clear for a second. The city jail, barbed wire fences, okay, convicted felons, dudes serving time for murder. When you can navigate through that and get to where she was with the beauty, the class, the competitive excellence, and the ability to come through the clutch in the face of the storm of people who didn't understand her Baltimore black girl magic, dude, you gotta love it, man. And the more you push that out there, the better it is for everybody in every platform. I love that young lady. I'm about ready to say little girl, and I apologize. But I love that young lady. I love the fact that she embraces the controversy. I love the fact that she can be a role model for my daughter. And I just love that she combines beauty, athleticism in a way that you don't see since, like, I don't know, Lisa Leslie, maybe. And that's where I think she's trending toward, if you ask me.
And the good thing about it, we're here in Baton Rouge, so this is Baton Rouge Radio. People are listening, both Southern LSU fans and all around. And, you know, you said something earlier this week, and I saw some things. And as I began to observe the controversy that was around Angel Reese and her blackness and seeming to make that as though there's something wrong in terms of how she does what she does because of who she is, but it does not seem to be the same way on the other side because of the color of the skin. And for me, so much media and social media hyped this up and talked about it so much to the point it seemed like they tried to pit the two together against each other. But in actuality, this was not a problem between Caitlyn and Angel. This was a problem of America showing who it really is.
And that's the whole point. Black girl, despite your magic, stay in your lane and, you know, understand that just because it worked out for Rosa Parks, we'll sit your ass in the back of the bus if we need to. And that's what that was about. And I will give Caitlin Clark her credit. When she came out maybe Monday or Tuesday and said, look, me and Angel Reese weren't the only people that were talking trash to each other. That's what we do. So it wasn't like, you know, it's not a big deal.
And it's sports,
Let's just move forward. Right.
He on the court to play a game of horse or 21, and I'm going to talk trash. That's simple.
Bro, if I go to the golf course and you got to make a 3-foot putt to win the skins on that hole, I'm going to talk trash to you. And that's, quote, the gentleman's game. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to hear any of that, man. America got issues with black folk swag. The same issues that y'all got, and the people that are listening right now that are pissed with me are going, it's the difference between, you know, black college swag and HBCU acceptability. As long as you beat your chest like me, I didn't go to a damn HBCU. I'm a proud card-carrying black college alumnus. This HBCU stuff is for marketing purposes to just make it more palatable for people who don't really want to take deeper dives into the historical significance of A, why these schools were created, and B, the impact that they've had on American culture. Hell, you'll never have the term black college if Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis have their way, you know, because appreciating black colleges awakens that, quote, wokeness, whereas HBCU is a more docile and less intrusive way of making certain folks in our society and the generations who fell behind them, who aren't being critiqued by many of their tyrannical ancestors. And let's be clear, with all due respect, Mark, great talking here, if your family had slaves, white folks, they were tyrants. Sorry. Deal with it. Your body of work. Just like we got to deal with genocide in the black community right now, where we want the entire country to believe that Black Lives Matter, while we're looking at little babies get killed in the hood and nobody wants to snitch because snitches get stitches. Let's be real for a second. You got two different paradigms on both sides of the street. We got to get over with in America, all right? So the stereotypes and the cultural symbolism and all that, tired of all that. Let's just keep it real. We in a society where, and I'm gonna go back to the leveling of the playing field of Title IX. It forces black girl magic to go head up with white girl privilege, and America is always going to protect the victimized white girl, or at least according to them, especially when you got black women who deliver the same type of swag that black men do. And we got to get over that. The humility and the docile that you want people to go back to the bus with after their ancestors fought so they could sit on the bus, or in the case of D.C., jump the turnstiles at the train station and then have it revered by city government so that they don't have to pay anymore, which I think is the most ignorant and despicable act in the history of American city government. But that's me. They just gonna have to come to grips with the changing reality of the country that we live in right now. And even if the old school grizzly people like me don't want to dig it, I'm a college professor too, man, at the University of Maryland. So I deal with the interaction of people from multicultural and diverse backgrounds. 20 to 25 years from now, when all these people are not feeling guilty, we're going to have a pretty cool mix of social respect that I don't think a lot of people are comfortable with. I may not be around to see it, but it's going to change. And I thought that the way Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese handled their one-on-one social media-induced beef, which was never a beef between the two ladies, it was a beef to get clicks and unique impressions. That's what that was about. And it did just what it wanted to. It was fueled by ESPN because they want to make sure that they get audience. It was a great BuzzFeed moment. But if you let the kids handle it, more often than not, it'll get fixed and they'll continue to play in the playpen. You know how it is. You got kids. The two little ones, they may slap each other around and start crying, drop dime on each other, and then next thing you know, 15 minutes from there, they're on the PlayStation game, getting in 2K4, Madden, FIFA, or one of those war games. That's what we do, dude, and we're moving that way in society. And I just hope that when our kids get old enough, and I think it's going to be that way, you're not going to see this racial division that's being fueled by, politicians and, God save Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee, exactly. That was going to be the next thing I brought up to you. But let's get ready to take a break. And when we come back, we'll continue the conversation more of the Jaguar Journal, all right? All right, it's the Jaguar Journal. We're back bright and early this morning. Marvin Gaye with the message. I'm Perry White, my man Mark Gray. Good morning, Mark.
Yeah, and that's the greatness. You know, what's that song about? 50 years old and it still speaks today. I mean, old school is where it was, bro. Old school is where it was.
Let's go to the phone lines real quick. We got Jay on the phone line. Good morning, Jay. Welcome to the Jaguar Journal.
Good morning, guys. I think this year women final game gathered so much attention because you had two teams that had never been to the championship game, and those two teams, the entire state was watching, and other schools around the SEC and the big team was watching also. So I don't think the feminists and other people should get ahead of themselves. Like women basketball has finally made it. I think you saw this one pony show, and that's it. I don't think you'll see this again. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Jay. Mark, what you think?
I would tend to disagree with that. Okay, people said the same thing about HBCU sports, and what happened? I think didn't the Celebration Bowl this year get its highest ratings ever? Didn't the Celebration Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, get one of the highest ratings of any of the bowl games that weren't amongst the college football playoffs? I think women's basketball is getting into that strata because, first off, if you look at the way that the game is played, it ain't this slow, downtrodden, dump the girl on ball on the inside and let Rebecca Lobo and all the post players do it. You got women who've gotten better on the edge. And when you got wing players who can do fantastic things, shoot, get to the rim now and create scoring opportunities, it's a more aesthetically pleasing crowd, branding way of playing the game. And I know in my part of the country, it is still big. There's still little girls that are growing up to have heroes. So where Angel Reese's hero would say Candace Parker, now my boy's daughter, who's a AAU high-end caliber, being recruited heavily type of player as a sophomore in high school, they're kind of following in the footsteps now of what Angel Reese is doing. Then you got NIL. Then you got, the marketing. I mean, look, hip-hop rules. And between, what's her name, Flage and Angel Reese, dude, that's going to take the game to the next level. And you're going to have a lot of white girls, like, say, Caitlin Clark, who are going to catch that vibe, and they're going to be like the Eminems, you know what I'm saying? The Beastie Boys back in the day. And even, what was that, Aerosmith, who team with Run DMC. You're going to have a culture emerging in the game. That's going to make the game better. You got innovative coaches like your girl Tamika Reed at Jackson State who will get the call up at some point. They're going to bring a new flavor to the game, you know what I'm saying? And I will say this. Hey, if I could make one heartfelt request of Coach Mulkey, don't show up at the Final Four with outfits making you look like you're opening that for Billy Ray Cyrus. What's going on with those? I mean, she had a bouquet of flowers on her arm. Okay, the pink, nice outfit, but it went a little bit too far. I love the stripes, but still, even then, she looked like an opening act for Blake Shelton. You know what I'm saying? Hey, put on some fly purple and gold sweat. Do you, mama girl. But then again, you bringing home chips, you can wear what you want. But them flowers, that was a bit much for me.
I was about to say, man, when you bring home the chips, you can do what you want. Even Mike the Tiger was wearing the flowers down the side. What I think it does, I think as we open up women's basketball, and no matter what school it is, HBCU, PWI, for me, what it's starting to do is put the eyes outside of the tradition, because let's be honest, women's basketball had gotten to a point to where it was pretty much, you could point every year and pretty much see the same four teams that you knew was going to get to it. It had gotten it had gotten to a point to where it was like, all right, for years it was UConn and literally everybody else. You would have a field with Notre Dame, Louisville, Duke, all these other teams that throughout the season.
Maryland even snuck in there and got one.
Yeah, all of these schools were beat up on each other. Then when they took on UConn, it was literally UConn and nobody else. We've seen the rise of South Carolina, and come on, Dunn Staley, South Carolina has swag. They have a lot of swag. And now you see LSU joining the fold in terms of swag. I like it in terms of now creating, because with any sport, it needs drama. That's what made wrestling what it was for years. The drama, the build-up, the anticipation. We have that same thing in football. We have that same thing in basketball when it's going to be LeBron James versus the whole Golden State Warriors. And guess what? You need build-up, and for so long, women's basketball did not have that build-up. But now it just seemed like they took it a little too far. Something so simple with "you can't see me." Now, I would understood if she flipped her off. Oh man, all right, that's bad sportsmanship. But to hit the Johnson, "you can't see me." Come on, man. Because I say, "give me my ring." Come on, man. That for me, it was overly blown up. But that's what the media does in order to try to generate the story, to keep the story bigger than what it is. And guess what? They don't care the angle that they take. They will do whatever it takes in order to try to continue to sell the story. I like what's going on. I thought the biggest story should have been surrounding LSU, just how they got there, what they did in year 2.
Yeah. And I'm to your bigger point, though, was how UConn was the blue blood and was the defining program for college basketball. And I think on the men's side, we saw the same thing, too. I thought it was great to have a Florida Atlantic and University of Miami in the Final Four.
San Diego State?
And San Diego State. I did not at all miss Kentucky, Carolina, Kansas. Name your other blue blood that you want to put in there. Although now I think that, Duke. I'm glad to see that UConn was able to validate themselves as one of the blue blood programs now. Because I remember when I worked in Connecticut, the beef that the Nutmeg State fans had with the worldwide leader was that it was college basketball was always about Duke, Carolina, and the ACC, and the throes of Big East country. Now you got people all over the country feeling like, and guys and ladies, the 11th playing field is leveled. Okay, and don't get it twisted. At some point, there will be a mid-major from the women's side that will make a run that's equivalent to what you saw with San Diego State and what was that, Florida Atlantic. It's coming. It's going to happen sooner rather than later. And I think those are realistic expectations right now. Because I look at Florida Atlantic, and let's use Southern as an example. Florida Atlantic is in a beautiful place, Boca Raton, Florida. It's a retirement community of 80-year-old grizzled souls, okay? You can't get no chicken wings and mambo sauce. You ain't going to have no go-go down there. You're not going to have any good hip-hop. And there's no cultural experience for you as a black American kid to, embrace other than basketball if you go to Boca. But if I get that same kid or 3 of them to come to Baton Rouge and see the dancing dolls and the pep rally, I think I might raise my eyebrow.
And
I take that same kid and take him over to Howard's campus on a spring, 3:00 in the afternoon type of April or May day, I got a shot at getting him. And that's going to change the landscape. And oh boy, wait till you see what happens in those boardrooms during the selection process, which is why, God bless them, I do have my eye under the microscope on SWAC Commissioner Charles McClellan, because he'll be running that show next year, and he may not have votes where he can influence, but he definitely can broker deals that will make the committee raise their eyebrows by potentially including the team. Like, say, hypothetically, you get a Southern who goes 20-0 game to a Grambling who finishes, say, I don't know, 14 and 16, but wins the SWAC tournament. They get the automatic bid. Southern should be able to get an at-large.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have to stop capping it. There's no conference in America worth 10 bids in a 16-team league. Don't be creating these quad 4 victories. What the hell is quad 4? When I think quad 4, I'm thinking that's a different section of the penitentiary. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be a gym pop. You don't want to be in quad 4. How the hell do you get a quad 4 victory? What qualifies as a quad 4 victory?
Hold on, Mark. Let's go to the phone line right quick. We got Chris on the line. Good morning, Chris.
Hey, how you doing, Perry? How you doing, Mark?
Good morning.
All right, how you doing, Chris?
All right, man. Look, I just wanted to call in and just tell Mark I appreciate the perspective that he has being from another part of the country. Also want to thank you, Perry, for having him on there because what Mark is spewing is pure truth. What you see is the media trying to portray something and the backlash and all that you hear, that's who America is. That's the country we live in. And that's the narrative that we have. I mean, I was born in the 50s, grew up in the 70s, and so I understand the narrative that exists. And I don't care how long it goes. I don't care how long it is. That is who we are in America. And when you think about the simple fact that when Mark said about, stay in your place, it's still that is the same narrative that they want to be. Take for instance, guy never had nothing to guess and thought he was pretty good. But you take Keith Olbermann. I mean, how can you make yourself present yourself as an adult to call a teenage girl, a young lady, I'm sorry, a young lady, an idiot behind something like that? And over your years of sports on ESPN, you done seen a whole lot worse things than that. This is the heart of what America does. This is the first thing that come out their mouth without even thinking. Don't even think. Just react to the situation that is, because that's who we are in this country. And another thing I want to comment on is Mark has it exactly right. And that's why our coaches got to not be lazy. They got to recruit. It's just like he said. When you can get a guy to come and see what we have to offer at our schools, you got a shot at getting that guy. And it doesn't take but one or two players on a team and support role players as good athletes to make that run, just like Mark said. That's what's going to happen in the women's game, and that's the same thing going to happen for one of our HBCUs. I mean, we knew Norfolk did good that year, but I'm telling you, if our coaches will get out there and do what's necessary, especially with the transport portal, it doesn't take that many guys when you're talking about our girls, when you're talking about basketball. And as always, Perry, appreciate the show, and thank you for the comment.
Thank you, Chris, for coming on. Mark, what you got?
And I will say this. We as alums have got to start, contributing to our name and meal money, too. All right? Let's be clear for a second. If you want to impact the program and not go directly into a situation where you're giving money to the whatever athletic association that may not be appropriating it correctly, the name, image, and likeness money should be held in a separate kind of fund. And you may want to call Coach Banks to see how that works. But if you're a fundraiser for the athletic department, that's what you got to start raising your money for right now. Name, image, and likeness to get the players, and then hopefully that their success will breed to more public sector or private sector contributions so you can get the facilities in place. But there's no doubt about it now. We got some shine as HBCUs right now that's unprecedented. And you got to maximize it on right now, because once the real black girl magic starts hitting and they start winning softball championships and basketball championships and, visible team sports championships, they're going to slant the perspective, because you got people oftentimes who look like us from the black college world in decision-making positions in those rooms that come up with policy that adversely affect our schools And I think they're doing it as a rite of passage to escalate their brand amongst their peers at the detriment of the HBCUs, and quite frankly, because of their cultural ignorance. And somebody got calling people out, and it might as well be me. And I give less than a damn about the NCAA because they ain't done crap for me.
This is why I love to have you on, Mark.
And I just want to put this name out there. Do a Google search on Walter Byers, who's always revered as this noble king of intercollegiate athletics. He was a guy that didn't want integration. He didn't want women to compete. He wanted everybody to remain like in the throes of Bear Bryant and Adolph Rupp. And look at what happened. Once we got that racist out of the way, it brought tremendous athleticism to the sport. It made college sports a more palatable entertainment product. And that's why you got the rise of clickbait in social media. You know, that's what this is. This media these days are driven no longer by quality or excellence of works, but clicks, likes, and unique impressions. That's what it is. And you got to understand that landscape. And when people start shaking the mold of what it was done, you know, when I was in school 30 years ago, the way it is right now, you gotta figure out how to way to play that game. And I'm sorry, old school. That's why a lot of bean counters and paper pushers who are infecting our athletic programs and stealing money so that they can get state pensions and live well off of their incompetence for years, which have hindered athletic programs from truly reaching themselves. You know, those people in Hall of Fames now and all that kind of stuff, they don't like the way. They want to go along and get along, but the new generation ain't going to have it. You ever heard the term market reset? The market is going to reset itself based upon the generation of the kids. I know this for a fact because I'm literally, as a college instructor, trying to educate and produce the next generation of leaders. Their vision of the world is totally different from what we see right now. And they're going to figure it out. We're going to have market reset. And the crazy part about it is the next generation of, and I'll just make it Black American and white American, are really in lockstep on a lot of different social ideals. And once we get this old school nonsense out the way, it's going to be a better place to be. I truly believe that. I may not see it, witness it, and enjoy it, but I can see it happening, man, because I look at kids who are, and I bet you if you would go to LSU's campus and you'd have random conversations with white kids who would be upper middle class and black kids who may be lower middle class, their value systems are the same. And athletics and locker rooms and team bonding and travel experience has always been great ways for people to embrace different cultures and accept their roles in society. Well, it's always been a game changer, bro. It's going to continue to do so. And the more you get people in the face like Angel Reese, who can speak it in an entertainment fashion, bring beauty and class to the way that they handle their business, it's going to be great for the sport, man. And just like Joe Burrow was when he played football. Say the white guy leading LSU to a national championship playing football. You had the black girl leading the women to the national championship in basketball. What demographic can't recognize that? If you're not, you must be looking through the glasses of Stevie and Ray.
We got to wrap it up here, Mark. As always, I love to have you on, and I agree with you. I'm part of that generation that sees it differently, which is why I think a lot of times I get pushed back when you talk about opportunities and doing things, because it's those very people that you're talking about that are being praised, that are sitting on these positions and sitting on these jobs. And a lot of times what they feel threatened by the next generation, because we do have a different viewpoint of what the world is going to be, because the world for me is not the world that I saw, that my
elders saw. The world for me is evolving from that, and we have to be open to allow evolution to happen, to evolve, because we can't take old processes and try to just take them to the next year and think that it's going to work. We have to be able to incorporate the two. For me, this is the big thing. I know where I come from to know where I'm at, to then take that to know where I'm going. And they have to allow that door to open so we can be able to change and do better.
Old school values plus new school innovation should make for a better society.
There you go.
Come on, y'all.
Mark, tell the people where can they find you as we wrap this up.
MLBBro.com. We're covering black and brown major leaguers 24/7, 365 on a computer, smartphone, tablet, however you get your baseball stuff on. I'm on social media at The Sports Groove, and we're working on some things to come. So I'll just leave it right there. But I'm really proud of what we're doing on Black American baseball. Plus, check Rob Parker out at 8:50 Central Time. Every, Tuesday now, I believe, Homeboy Highlights. We got the partnership with Major League Baseball, so we put Black American baseball out there every day at MLBBro.com.
All right, thank you, Mark. That is our time today. Appreciate you, Mark, as always.
Appreciate you, bro. Love you, man. Peace.
Thank you. Hey, man, as always, man, it's good to have Mark on. There's a guy that I looked up to for years when I watched him as a youngster being on ESPN and doing everything that he was doing, and now being able to have the opportunity to talk to him, man, that is a blessing. I love his conversation. I hope you guys did as well. We're about to get ready to get up out of here. Hey, catch us next week. I'll try to bring some more. We'll do a little bit more next week and keep it going. And guess what? As always, we'll be back at the same time in the same